Well, good morning, everyone. This is Lynette Rogers calling in from Detroit, Michigan. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. I am officially kicking off the call, and I would like to introduce to you a phenomenal woman, someone who is known as a professional career coach, a role model, mentor, leader, national speaker, VP of Human Resources in Corporate America, and many others. But she says her most important titles are wife and mom. She has helped me and hundreds of women across the country become better and stronger. She is the host and the visionary of this call. Good morning, Miss Jill Green. Are you out there?
I am. Good morning, Lynette, and good morning to all of you. Welcome to Momentum Mondays. Again, I'm Jill Green, the host of the call designed to wake you up, shake you up, and take you up to new levels in your life, your career, your business, and your dreams. Who is this broadcast for? Everybody. If you're a domestic engineer, which is a stay-at-home parent, a 9-to-5er, a career professional, an entrepreneur, a traditional business owner, if you're in direct sales, in transition, in between jobs or blessing, reinventing yourself, aggressively pursuing your goals or your dreams, if you're a speaker, an author, a coach, a man or woman, this broadcast was designed with you in mind. And before we get started, I'd like to introduce to you a few of my amazing co-hosts. First up, we have Mr. Bishop Dickie Robbins, pastor of Life in Christ Cathedral of Faith Ministries, the visionary of Dickie L. Robbins, all the way from Chester, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Jill Green. I'm excited about this call.
Absolutely. And also on the line, all the way from Newark, Delaware, we have Michelle Washington. She's the founder of Michelle Marie Fashion Agency, visionary of Women and More. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Jill. Let's go. Woo!
I love that. And we also have, you already heard her amazing voice, Miss Lynette Rogers. She's the owner of Virtually Yours, founder of Saving Our Youth, author of #1 best-selling book, Mission Unstoppable, that she authored with Les Brown and George Fraser. Good morning, Lynette.
Good morning, Miss Jill Green, and good morning to the Momentum Monday movers and shakers.
Absolutely. And, folks, we'll be here right here every single Monday morning to make sure your Mondays will never be the same. Now, if you're on Facebook, take a second to join our Momentum Monday discussion group. We'll answer questions. We're talking live in that group. So if you're in the group now, go to the page and post hashtag I'm on the call. Hashtag I am on the call. Now, if you're just joining us, you're catching us in the middle of an amazing series about the power of habits. We understand that habits are important because they determine your success. We had a very special guest a couple of weeks ago, Dr. George Fraser, who has been named by Black Enterprise America's #1 master networker. And one thing he said to us was, we need to change our E-quotient. He said we entertain ourselves more than we educate ourselves. So we have to have the habit of educating ourselves. And he really, really challenged us. Then last week we had Kimberly Washington on, and she joined us, and she gave us some great tips on financial habits. But today, ladies and gentlemen, I am super excited about our very special guest, all the way from New Orleans, home of the New Orleans Saints, Mardi Gras, Jazz Fest, Essence Weekend, just actually celebrated the rebirth of New Orleans since Hurricane Katrina. He is the CEO and president of Entergy, the electric and gas utility company, and his accolades are so long we don't have enough time on the call. But I'm excited today that he's going to speak with us about success habits. Good morning, Mr. Charles Rice.
Good morning, Jill. Glad to be on the call, and I hope I can live up to all that hype you just gave me.
Absolutely, you can live up to all that hype. You know, Mr. Rice, I'm so excited that you're joining us because, you know, in my corporate career, you know, climbing that ladder, I always look to people and their habits. And I always wonder what made that person successful or how did they get there? And you being at the top of this, you know, huge company, and the city looks to you when something happens. As we know, you know, New Orleans is, you know, synonymous with, you know, hurricanes and tropical storms and just weather. You know, you lead that charge, but you don't do that, you know, just haphazardly. There are habits that have helped you get to that place. So talk to us this morning about success habits. What do you think? Why do you think habits are important? Let's start there.
Well, one, I think habits really set up your brand and what your brand is going to be, and how people perceive you not only when they meet you, but what their expectations are prior to them meeting you, and what people can expect to get from you when they do meet with you. So I think it's very, very important that you establish a pattern, a practice, where people have a certain expectation when they meet you, because I think it's very true that your reputation always precedes you, and it's the fact that you only have one name, and it's in your best interest to make sure it's a good name.
I love that. I love you start out with branding, because most people wouldn't have thought about branding when it ties to habits, but you're saying habits set up your brand, and it actually gives people an expectation of what they can expect from you in your work performance and your personal life, it sounds like.
That's true, because, what I always tell young people is, if you're looking to be promoted, if you're looking to be successful, people have to be able to see and imagine you in that next position. And if you're not carrying yourself now in a manner that allows people to vision or have a vision of you at that next level, you will never get there.
That's really powerful. So if you're in the Facebook group, and we do this often, I want you guys to this is a hashtag moment. Listeners on the line today, habits set up your brand. So guys, go into the Facebook page and hashtag habits set up your brand. That's really, really good. So Mr. Rice, tell me some of the habits that you have. I mean, you are known as a powerful business leader, as someone who gets the job done, results. Those are words I think of when I think of you, which is part of your branding. But what are some habits that help you set up that brand?
Well, one thing, I'm an early riser. Typically, my day begins about 4:15, 4:30. I actually go to the gym in the morning, because the first thing you have to do is make sure you're taking care of yourself. Because if you are not taking care of yourself, then you cannot be successful in your job, you cannot be successful with your family, you just cannot be successful as a person because you're not investing in yourself. So the first thing you have to do is make sure you're exercising, eating right, and taking care of yourself. Another thing that I like to focus on is, one, I love to invest in people. What do I mean by investing in people? A lot of people think that networking is just meeting someone, getting their contact information, getting their email address. No, that is not networking. Networking is when you invest in that person. You take the time to get to know that person. You take the time to let them know about you, so there's a true connection. It's very easy to try and call somebody up after you met them. And look, I'm going to tell everybody on the call one thing. People that are very successful enjoy telling their story. They enjoy sharing their story. So they're willing to invest in you and other people. And part of the reason that they are where they are today is because they took the time to invest in people and invest in relationships. So I think it's very, very important that you invest in people and relationships.
Okay, so that's awesome. So, folks, if you're just joining us, this is Momentum Mondays, and we are on live with the amazing CEO and President of Entergy, Mr. Charles Rice, and we're talking about success habits. And so the first thing you said was, first of all, habits set up your brand. People have to imagine you in a role that you actually want to pursue. That sets up your brand. And then you said that you rise early. Now, Mr. Rice, 4:15, that's real early. And I want to pause right there, because, I think we're a nation of people that likes to sleep in. But what you're telling me is one of the things that has helped you become successful is rise early and invest in yourself. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's true. And taking the time to, what I do in that time in the morning when I'm working out, I'm actually thinking about what I'm going to be doing during the day. And it also is some quality time for me to think about issues that I may have going on professionally, personally, and how I'm going to attack those issues. And that's why I say that's some important me time. That's time you're investing in yourself, and that's time that you can use to make yourself a better person.
I love that. So now we're talking about the physical workout. Let's talk about the mental workout real quick before we go to your next point, because I know that's also something I think that you pay attention to. How do you build up your mind? How do you make sure you have that proper success mindset?
Well, one, I would tell you, I read. I'm a news junkie, and I like to read books. I'm not really a fictional reader. I like to read things about history, different things that have happened, the habits of successful people. Actually, one book that I always recommend to people is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And I think what people will find when you read that book, there is really nothing earth-shattering that is in that book, but it really will affirm and confirm a lot of things that you probably already know, things that you may have thought about, but things that you don't do on a regular basis, and it may make you think about doing some of those things on a regular basis. But you have to be a reader of what's going on in the world. You have to be up on current events. You have to be able to speak with people about different things that are going on, not only in the business world, but also in the world at large. And I think that just makes you a better person, and it helps you connect with other people when you can participate in the conversation. Because if you are not expanding your mind, expanding the information that you're taking in, it's difficult for you sometimes to connect in certain situations. So the more information you have in your head and in your mind, the more you can participate in the conversations that are going on around you and be an active participant, which allows you to connect with people.
I love that. So we're talking about the mental workout. Folks, we're talking about habits here on Momentum Monday with the amazing Mr. Charles Rice. And he works out his body every day at 4:15 a.m. If you want to be successful, get up early. But then we're talking about that mental workout, and he says he reads, right? So leaders are readers. One of the books he's recommending is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I'm getting text messages asking for that book again. I believe, is that a John Maxwell book?
I believe so. And I'll give y'all one more. Good to Great.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's Jim Collins, right?
Yep, that's right. Jim Collins. Good to Great.
Yes.
is a very, very good book. I would also recommend that.
Okay, awesome. So, folks, leaders are readers. Here you have it from the CEO and president of Entergy. I'm going to tell you, it's not often that you get to have virtual coffee in the morning with a CEO, so you should have your pencils out or your phone should be texting notes. He's saying read 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I believe that's the John Maxwell book, and Good to Great by Jim Collins. And guess what? You can get it on audio. They have the free versions on YouTube as well, so you can get that. But the other thing I like what you said, Mr. Rice, is you said you have to have a balanced conversation. You should be able to conversate about a lot of different things or have conversations about different things, not just news or not just sports, because some people only know sports and they can talk all day long. But what I hear you saying is be able to have conversations in different circles. That's what I hear you saying.
A lot of different things. And I heard earlier you mentioned, I think you were talking about emotional quotient, emotional intelligence. That's very, very important because in order to be truly successful, you have to have emotional intelligence. And you develop emotional intelligence by putting yourself in different situations, a lot of them that may be outside of your comfort zone. You have to challenge yourself. You have to be able to go into situations where, one, you may not be in the majority, two, you're in the minority, and three, you have to be able to deal in those environments. And part of the way you do that is by having emotional intelligence, that is, knowing the situation, being able to go into a room, assess the situation. Oftentimes you can pick out who are the leaders in the room or who are the people that are really controlling the conversation or controlling the environment. And I have no problem going up to those people and introducing myself. You have to be able to go up to people in a room where you may not know anyone and introduce yourself to people. And if you're one of those voracious readers, if you have been working on your mind, you'll be able to participate in the conversation that's going on because you may know a little bit about whatever it is they're talking about, or you may know a fact that nobody else in that current situation knows. So that's why it's important for you to be able to be a voracious reader.
I love that. So we're talking with Mr. Charles Rice about Momentum Mondays, and one thing I just heard say was getting out of your comfort zone. Mr. Rice, I think that's really, really key because sometimes it is easier to operate when you're comfortable. But one thing you said was you have to be comfortable sometimes being the minority.
Correct.
And I want you to talk more about that. At your level, there are not there are fewer African American C-suite leaders. You know, the higher you go, the fewer you see. And so talk to me about being the minority and how your habits have helped you navigate those waters.
Well, first of all, you have to be comfortable with yourself and comfortable in your own skin. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, then it's difficult to function in those situations. And I'll be the first to share with everybody on this call, you know, just because somebody is the smartest person in the room doesn't necessarily mean they're the best leader in the room. Leadership is not really about being the smartest person in the room. There are a lot of other different aspects to being a leader. But to me, you have to be comfortable with yourself and with the person that you are, and know that, you know, and I can tell you, Jill may not have said this on the call, I used to be a practicing attorney. And there were people that I would go up against that went to Harvard, Yale, all of these top law schools, and I would kick their butts on a regular basis. Why? Because I was always more prepared than they were. And if you prepare yourself, then it's a lot easier for you to function in those situations where you may be in a minority or you may be the only one in the room. It's all about preparation, and a lot of things go into preparation, and you know that comes with education, that comes with seeking out mentors, talking to people about different situations that they've been in, and it also comes with being comfortable with yourself, and it goes back to, again, being that reader and working that mind and being able to adjust to a lot of different situations, and also being able to have discussions about a lot of different topics.
I love that. So, yes, folks, we're here on Momentum Mondays live with Mr. Charles Rice, CEO of Institute of New Orleans. I'm constantly getting questions about the book. I'm going to ask one of my co-hosts to post the names of the book on the Facebook group page, and that was The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell and Good to Great by Jim Collins. And if you haven't heard anything today, he is actually honing in on the point of reading. You have to be an avid reader. It builds your mind and makes you comfortable to talk. Because, Mr. Rice, I will tell you, I've been in situations, and I've walked into a group where they were talking about something I didn't have a lot of knowledge about. So when there was an opportunity to break in, I gently turned the conversation to something I did know a lot about so I could participate. You know, and so that's also a way that you could kind of address those situations as well. So we're talking with Mr. Charles Rice on the power of success habits. The first thing you said this morning was habits set up your brand. That's really powerful. He rises every morning at 4:15 to get his body right. He works his mind out by reading avidly, by watching the news, and, you know, just being up on current events. He invests in people. I love that you said that. I love that you said you have a habit of investing in people, bringing people along, and then you talked about getting out of your comfort zone. So, Mr. Rice, this is an honor for us to have an opportunity to take a sneak peek into your life so early in the morning. So what are some other things that you physically do that are habits of yours? And like you said, you were a practicing attorney. You also spent some time in the military.
Yes, I did.
As well. And so I'm sure that there were some habits even back then that you were developing that helped you for today.
Well, you know, what I picked up most from the military was the value of relationships and getting to know people and getting to know the people around you. And that's where I really learned about investing in people and spending time with people. And look, I know everybody, you don't have a lot of time, but those 20 minutes or 15 minutes that you give to a young person may be invaluable. And my philosophy on that and why I believe in investing in people is, you know, I don't help people because of what I think somebody can do for me. That's not it. I'm just a firm believer in everything you do ultimately comes back in some way, shape, form, or fashion. And I'm a firm believer in you do not know where someone is going to end up one day or who can possibly help you at some point in your life, in your career, personally, professionally. So it just helps just to be nice to everybody. Even people that you know don't like you. still be nice to those people.
Okay, Mr. Rice. Let's talk about that point for a second. Well, there was a hashtag moment. Be comfortable with yourself. Folks, hashtag that. I think that's powerful. You said be nice to people even who don't like you.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
You kill people with kindness. And, you know, you only have one chance to make an impression. And you, just by being nice, I can assure you it will actually turn that person and actually cause them to think about themselves and how they are as a person, and ultimately probably will affect how they treat everyone else. So I just think it's very, very important that even the people that you know do not care about you, do not care for you, that you're nice to them, smile in their face, because, again, you just never know where that person's going to end up, what that person could end up doing, and how that person can end up helping you one day. And that one little moment of kindness may make all the difference in the world.
I love that. So now you're talking about character. So you folks on the line this morning, as we advertised Mr. Rice was going to be on, I'm sure you thought you were going to hear certain things, get up early, eat right, go do this. But I love the fact that he's talking about those things that are within. I hear you talking about character. So we should have a habit of having good character. Is that what I hear you saying?
Oh, you have to have character. If you do not have good character, you cannot be successful at anything in life. If you are not a person that is trustworthy, that people know they can count on your word, that people know if you tell them you're going to do something, you follow through. And I think it's also very important. I make a habit of people may come to you and ask for help all the time, but it's very important that you're very upfront with people. And if you cannot help them, tell them. Tell them at that point in time, look, I would love to help you, but I can't, and these are the reasons I can't. People have more respect for you for telling them when you can't do something and why, versus you sitting up there kind of hemming and hawing, saying, oh, I might be able to help you, I might not be able to help you, and then you never follow through. But
right.
If you know at that point in time that you cannot be of help to someone, let them know right then, and let them know why you can't help them. And then there may be some other area where you can help them, but let them know that. But it's very important that you're a person of your word and a person of integrity.
Well, this is just absolutely amazing this morning, folks. We have live with us on the line Mr. Charles Rice, CEO and President of Entergy in New Orleans, and we're talking about success habits and how you are successful. And there were several things he said this morning that I took notes on. The first thing he says was you have to rise early. That is an investment in yourself. That sets up your day. So he rises early at 4:15 a.m. and works out his body, but he also works out his mind. He has a mental workout. He reads every day. He makes sure that he understands what's happening in the world when it comes to the news. And there are two books that he recommended this morning, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership and Good to Great. Those are two amazing books you can get online. Any medium you want, you can get that. Then he talked about people. You have to have the habit of giving back, of pouring into others. I love number 2, Mr. Rice, because a lot of times, you initially started talking about networking, but we've been taught that networking is, what can you do for me? I'm giving you my card in exchange for something you can give me. But what I hear you saying is we need to build relationships, give back, and invest in others. And I believe because you do that, I believe you get so much back in return. I believe when you are a person who mentors, who coaches, who sows seeds all across the country, and I believe that's why you have so much, success coming your way. Something else you talked about was reading. You said be uncomfortable. And, grow and be uncomfortable, but also be comfortable with yourself. You talked about having great character and being honest with people, having honest communication. It is 7:54, folks. This would technically be the end of Momentum Mondays. For those of you who have to hang up and go to work, we thank you for joining us. But now we're heading into what we call the after call. And this is where our co-hosts and our listeners on the line have an opportunity to chime in. They can ask a question. They can make a comment. And we're just honored to be able to have virtual coffee this morning with Mr. Charles Rice. So first up, I'm going to bring to the line Mr. Bishop Dickie Robbins, who is out in the Pennsylvania area. Bishop, this has been an amazing call this morning. What are your thoughts on some of the habits that Mr. Rice has shared with us today?
Wow. First of all, after I get over the amazement of what's been shared, I want to thank you, Mr. Rice, for sharing these tangible and intangible habits that obviously feed. I made one note, Jill, as I was listening, and I don't know what it might eventually evolve into, but the danger of an atrophied mind. And what because Mr. Rice talked about feeding your mind with reading and staying abreast of current events. And what I've discovered, because I do work out physically at the gym, and I know that muscles that you don't use, they can become atrophied, and that would weaken them and sometimes render them non-functional. The same thing is true with our mind. Many of us are not using nearly the capacity that we have in terms of our reasoning skills, thinking outside of the box. And it's a lot of times because we only think in one dimension, and that's the way we have been trained to think, kind of unilaterally. But by talking to other people and seeing other perspectives, it actually works our mind out and gives us the ability to think multidimensionally. So I just want to thank Mr. Rice for that challenge, because reading is not just fundamental, but it's also crucial.
Mr. Rice, he said the danger of an atrophied mind. I love how you kind of compared that to a muscle that, can become weak or reduce in strength if you don't use it. What do you think about that, Mr. Rice?
Oh, I think that's very important. I mean, and even if you look at the most recent studies when it comes to ALS, when it comes to Alzheimer's, they talk about the fact that people that continue to actively engage their mind as they get older have less chance of getting such things as Alzheimer's, and more importantly, if you do have it, it kind of slows the progress. So it goes not only spiritually but also physically.
I love it. I love that. And Miss Lynette Rogers, all the way from Detroit, Michigan, we have the amazing Mr. Charles Rice on the line with us this morning. Is this information not powerful? Isn't it amazing?
Oh, my goodness. I am just in awe of all the information that you're sharing, because it is so important as we, all strive to achieve the successes in our life. I definitely have a question for you, if you don't mind. On your journey towards success, we know that you've encountered failures. Successful people understand that you have to fail forward. And I was just wondering if you could share just some of your failures and what you've learned from them on your journey. A lot of times, you fall and that'll take a person out of the game. But I would like for you to just share a little bit of, just something about what you've learned from some of the failures in your life.
Failure, if you haven't failed, then you're really not trying. And I think, most very successful people have failed at one thing or another. But one of the things that I picked up from failure was preparation, and how important preparation is. And I was very fortunate when I was I went to Howard University, HBCU, and one of the things that I was taught there, and I was in ROTC, is we always had to be twice as good as the other guy. And the other guy was, people, Caucasians, who, there's a privilege with being Caucasian in that country, which I don't think a lot of Caucasians actually appreciate. So what it taught me was to always be prepared, to always work twice as hard as the other guy, to never be outworked. If I was going to lose a case, it was not going to be because I was not as prepared as the other person. It was going to be, hey, their facts were just better. It wasn't going to be for preparation. So one of the things my failures have taught me is, one, you have to always be prepared, and two, you have to take away a reason for people to tell you no. And I don't know how much time we left. Real quick example, it was suggested that I go and get an MBA after having a law degree, and I was like, well, why do I need that? Because I already have a law degree. And I'll never forget, I was talking to one of my mentors, and his words to me was, Charles, that is one less reason for them to tell you no when it comes time for you to get to the next level. So not only do we have to work harder, but we also have to be better educated. So again, it goes back to, making sure you've worked your mind and that you've gotten as much information into that mind as you can possibly get.
I love that.
Wow, love it.
That was
Thank
great.
you.
Yes, I love that. All right, so we also have on the line Miss Michelle Washington, all the way from Newark, Delaware. Michelle, this amazing information. I mean, what are you thinking right now?
Well, number one, I want to thank Charles for joining the call. And number two, it sounds like he's done so much in his lifetime. He actually looks like he's 20, so I'm not even sure how he was able to accomplish all of what he has done.
Appreciate that.
Charles, the thing that stuck out to me as I continue to build my brand and business is what you said about the habits with your brand. Besides all the things that you have stated and what you have done, what else have you done or doing to really create that brand as you continue to grow and develop within yourself?
Well, I mean, one thing I think everybody needs to realize, life is always a journey. And just because you've achieved a certain level of success doesn't mean you can't learn from other people. I still have a number of goals that I want to achieve. And one thing that I do is I make my goals and desires known. So if right now one of my desires is to get on the board of a publicly traded company. I've actually, talking about failures, I actually went through the process already, made it through 2 rounds and was not selected. So that was a very recent failure. But based upon a relationship that I cultivated over 5 years ago, I'm now going to get that opportunity, and I've been selected for the board of a publicly traded company with a guy, as a result of a guy I developed a relationship with 5 years ago. So that's why I say it's very important that you take the time and invest in people, because you never know where people are going to end up. This individual ended up being the CFO of a company, and based upon that position, he had the opportunity to suggest a few people for their board, and I was one of the people that he put out there. So, again, you have to continue to invest in people and invest your time in endeavors and people who are positive. And people that, who are positive, that are doing positive things, and really cut out a lot of the negativity around you. Focus on positive people, focus on positive things, because that all rubs off on you.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Rice, about people, because I was going to ask you as we close out, this will be our last opportunity to speak on this, but I was going to talk about the circle. We spend a lot of time talking about the circle, right? Our circle of influence, people that we surround ourselves with. Talk about how important your circle is when it comes to success and habits.
Well, the first thing you have to do is have a diverse network. But the people that are closest to you, people do judge you by the company you keep. And if you know people out there with questionable integrity, and you are always seen with those people of questionable integrity, then people are going to make the assumption that you have questionable integrity also. So the company you keep is very, very important. And I am not telling you to disassociate yourself with your friends, but, I'll share a quick story. I had a friend of mine that said he wanted to expand his business, and he wanted me to help him expand his business. Well, I said the first thing you need to do is stop hanging out at such and such a place, because hanging out in that place are not people who are going to help you expand your business. If you want to do business with a certain class of clientele, then you need to go where that class of clientele, for lack of a better term, hang out and associate. So it's true, you are a product of the company that you keep.
I love that, and I wish we had more time. So maybe one day you will grace us again with your presence. This has been so good. Mr. Rice, thank you so much.
Folks, thank y'all for having me, and I hope I was able to give out a few words of wisdom that people can use going forward.
Oh, no, this was amazing, folks. I'm going to do a quick recap because I'm getting text messages and inboxes. The people love this, folks. If you want the recording, as you know, we always post the recording each Monday by 12 noon in the Facebook group, so you'll be able to listen back to this amazing call. This is Momentum Monday with Mr. Charles Rice, CEO and President of Entergy New Orleans. He talked about rising early, working out your physical and your mental. He talked about investing in people, give back, and guess what? You don't have to be a CEO to give back. You can give back from wherever you are in life. He talked about being a reader. Leaders are readers. There are 2 books he recommended. They're already in our Facebook group. He said be comfortable with yourself, but be uncomfortable in different environments. Stretch yourself. Make yourself grow. He talked about character. Character is very important. Treat people right and be honest in your communication. He said make your goals known. You have to tell people. If he never told anyone he wanted to be on a public board, congratulations, sir, he would not be accepting a board offer at this time. He said have a diverse network. Everyone in your network and your circle should not look like you. And then he wraps it up with talking about positive people. You know, you have to have great people in your life, in your circle. And he said watch not only who you're with, but watch where you go. We are flat out of time. Mr. Rice, you're amazing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, folks. We're going to go ahead and sign off. Again, visit our Facebook group. You can find the recording there. And this is Momentum Mondays. Lynette, go ahead and open up the lines. We're going to say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Have a great
Awesome
week.
call.
Awesome.
Committed.
Goodbye. Have a good day.
Awesome call.
Right?
Awesome call.
Stay committed.